welcome to episode 2. Today we're going to introduce Macey and just understand a little bit about her journey to date. So Macey, we're going to start off just understanding your journey into recruitment. So what led you here?
So I didn't actually start out directly in recruitment. So I started out within a recruitment company, but doing sort of the business admin side of things. So obviously I was working in an office around recruiters. So I think listening to them on the phones all the time and, placing these jobs and just hearing kind of what it was about is sort of what initially made me want to go into it. So I spoke to people within the company and I asked those questions around it of sort of what the role entailed essentially. And then I think that's sort of what initially led me into it. And then when I started in my first recruitment role, it kind of just took off from there and I've loved it ever since.
So what do you love most about working with candidates and clients?
So I think for me, it's quite a rewarding role. So obviously when you place a candidate, you know, they might have been looking for a new role because, they weren't earning enough money or the travel was too far and they weren't spending any time at home with their family. So finding them that new role where they have that balance and have what they wanted, it can potentially change someone's life. And I think that's quite a rewarding feeling. And then on more the client side, obviously you take the time to get to know the client and learn about the role and themselves as a business. So then when you actually place this candidate, I think it proves a lot to them that you do understand, and again just builds that relationship there that you can have for a long time.
And you're obviously skilled at finding the right people for the right companies. We've had loads of good feedback and testimonials. But what's your approach to finding that good fit?
I think my main thing is sort of understanding, what's beyond their CV. So yes, they've got the qualifications, they've got the skills and experience needed, but it's more about understanding the person and their personality behind it and whether that's going to fit in well with the company and the team that they're working with. I think that's probably a main thing that I'd look for.
So Macey, what makes a candidate stand out in today's job market?
So I think it's a mix of things, really. I think, as I said before, it goes beyond what's on the CV. I think having a strong LinkedIn presence is also quite important. And then obviously as well, having those soft skills as well and transferable skills, because you can almost learn kind of a role on the job to a certain extent. But I think having those initial sort of soft skills is always a good thing to have.
I guess the want as well, the want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And asking questions sort of around the company, around the role, around sort of what you'd be doing shows real interest to both us and obviously when they meet with the client.
Okay. What would be your best advice to somebody looking to transition into a new role or a new industry?
So I think an important thing for this would be to really learn the industry. So go to networking events sort of around that sort of sector, meet with people, attend events that are sort of around that sort of industry and just really get to know it and learn the industry essentially.
Yeah, I've had people go above and beyond as well. So I've had people phone me to say, hey, I've seen you on LinkedIn. I want to get into recruitment. Can you give me some advice that I can then take that into interviews and things like that? So yes, in people in industry is a good one. How can candidates best prepare to make sure they get sort of best possible success for an interview?
So I think preparation is a massive thing. So researching the company, asking obviously your recruiter questions on the phone all around the role, the company. And I also think clients really like having someone that asks questions in the interview. And I always think, sort of a good one to ask as well at the end is sort of around, what would be my priorities for the first 6 weeks compared to the first 6 months. And it gives you a really good understanding of what to prepare for and
what to expect.
Yeah.
Any quick tips for handling or negotiating counter offers?
Yeah, so I think don't just throw a random number out there. I think really understand and focus on what value you bring or are going to bring to the company, because the amount of times I think you've got this as well, that we're on the phone to a candidate and we'll say, okay, so what sort of salary are you looking for? And they'll come up with a number, and then when we say what they're offering, which could be significantly lower or higher, they'll just say, yeah, that'll do anyway. So I think understand the market, do your research around it, and yeah, when negotiating, again, just focus on what value you're going to add to that company rather than just kind of throwing anything out there.
I guess understand you value the marketplace as well as important, isn't it? So Macey, what hiring trends are you seeing for 2025 in the market?
So what I've seen so far is a lot of clients that we're working with are kind of making that move back into more office-based work. So they are requiring kind of the candidates to be in sort of 5 days a week, which is obviously pretty different from what we've been used to over the past few years. Everyone's gotten used to working at home or hybrid working and kind of making that work sort of around their lives. And I know that shift back into sort of on-site working now is difficult for us because obviously a lot of candidates are so used to this way of working now that they're not really ready to make that move back.
Yeah, I can relate with that. I get the flexibility of picking up my children and things like that, and then shift that. It'd be very, very difficult for a lot of families, I'd imagine. What do companies often overlook during a hiring process?
So I think for this one, it would have to be kind of when people have short stances at companies. I think clients will often see that and completely just disregard or reject the candidate straight away. But I think it's important to actually look into the reasons as to why this may have happened. It could be something completely not to do with them. You could be rejecting a really good candidate that could add a lot of value to the company, and you haven't actually took the time to look into that. You've just kind of disregarded them straight away. So I think looking more deep into the reasons as to why is really important.
So Macey, what can clients and candidates expect from you in 2025?
So I'll be attending a lot of exciting networking events and also events that we'll be hosting. And we're also sponsoring loads of awards. Hopefully we win one. And yeah, just lots of exciting things ahead.
So are there any projects or initiatives you're working on for 2025 that you'd like to tell us about? So Macey, are there any exciting projects or initiatives you're working on for this year?
Yeah, so there's lots of things at the moment. So obviously I'm doing lots of charity events. Well, we all are. And then obviously I'm doing a digital marketing project for PYVITAL at the moment. And trying to grow our social media presence as well.
And if people want to get in contact with you, in touch with you, what's the best way?
So I've got quite a strong presence on LinkedIn, so you can always find me on there. If not, you can reach me on my email.
Brilliant. So, Macey, I've got a little surprise for you. This just landed on me in episode 1, so you'll get the same. But it's a quick fire round. So, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and each answer quickly and short. Okay? Yeah. So, first question, biggest candidate mistake you've known?
So I think that would be people obviously having so many interviews and going into one thinking they're in there for another, despite obviously all the prep from.
Yeah, I can imagine I can get confused.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, Macey. So one thing hiring managers should stop doing immediately.
Taking ages to come back for feedback, I'd probably say is a big one. They can lose the candidate very quickly.
Okay, good. So what's the best way to make a great first impression?
Doing your research around a company, knowing what they do, dressing smartly, just being prepared for your interview.
Okay, what's one LinkedIn tip you can give to candidates to make themselves more present?
Post every day. Maybe not every day, every other day, but post regularly, just so you're known.
What's the best piece of career advice you've ever had?
Growth happens just outside your comfort zone.
Oh, good one, Macey. Okay, one last question. What's one thing you wish candidates knew about recruitment?
How frustrating it is when obviously you brief them on the role, tell them all about the company, and then they go and apply directly.
Oh, see, I wish all candidates knew how to straighten that one. Yes. Well, stay tuned for episode 3. We'll be introducing Ellie. She'll be talking about senior candidate hires and she'll be talking about market insights as well.